When you are an experienced eBay seller and you've been selling on the platform for long enough, you will come across many different types of buyer. Most of the time, the buyers you come into contact with will be fantastic. They will pay on time, they won't cause you any stress, they will communicate politely with you even if there has been an issue, and they will also, in most cases, they will also be very understanding. However, there will be times where you will come across buyers who are impatient, who won't be very understanding, and will be looking to cause you as much grief as possible. Recently, I came across one such buyer. We sold a power supply, or rather, I accepted an offer on a power supply for just £22. And I wish I had just checked the buyer's profile before accepting the offer, as a few seconds spent checking the buyer's profile and seeing the feedback left for others would have saved me a whole lot more hassle further down the line. If I checked the profile, I would have seen that on the feedback left for others page, this person had 16 negative feedbacks left for sellers. If I was a buyer and I was having that many negative experiences on a platform, I don't know about you, but I personally would stop using that platform. To move the story along, as soon as the estimated delivery date for this item had passed, bear in mind this was actually on the weekend of Her Majesty's funeral, so there was a bank holiday involved. As soon as that estimated delivery period had passed, I started receiving pretty aggressive messages with kind of bad language, but cleverly the bad language was shortened, so instead of mother trucker, MF was used, very creative, and instead of other bad words, some stars and asterisks were employed. I was accused of being dishonest, lying about providing fake tracking numbers, lots of accusations thrown about, lots of bad language used. No effort was made on the buyer side to be understanding at all. They were adamant that I was completely to blame for their parcel not arriving on time. They ignored the fact that the parcel was shipped on time, the fact that I used a reputable delivery service such as Royal Mail, because sometimes what you'll find is some customers instantly expect the worst when you use another delivery company. So I've had many occasions where in the past I've used Hermes and the buyers have messaged me straight away saying, oh, I wish I'd known you were going to use Hermes, I wouldn't have bought from you, they're terrible, etc, etc, because they've previously had bad experience with Hermes. Most of the time nothing happens, obviously, as we know. You can use Hermes and most of your parcels, 99.999% of them, will arrive fine. But in this case, it wasn't the Royal Mail service that was the issue, apparently. It was just my terrible service I was providing, and this person made it very clear what they thought of my service. As expected, a case was opened for a refund because the item hadn't been received, even though it had only been like 1 or 2 days over the period. Obviously, that case was moot because the tracking then updated once the item had been delivered. But the case was left open. The buyer did not close the case because they'd received the item. They just left it open. And I then obviously had to have the case closed in my favour. By this point, I knew I was going to get a negative feedback. Sure enough, looked on my account and we had negative feedback. And that doesn't... The negative feedback in itself doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really affect our metrics. We overall have very good feedback. We get a lot of positive feedback every month, and it wouldn't have really had much of an impact apart from taking my feedback percentage from 100% down to like 99.9 or whatever it is. And I looked at this feedback, and again, it was, there was a little message attached, just blaming, calling me disingenuous and lying about my deliveries, etc., and just making me out to be a really bad seller. And so I decided that enough's enough. I've been completely courteous in all my responses to this person. I was never at all even slightly rude or sarcastic. And I had, just a note as well, just on a side note here, I'd noticed that on this person's feedback left for others page, some sellers had fallen for the bait where they were trying to defend themselves, I guess in the eyes of other potential customers. They were trying to defend themselves to the negative feedbacks this person had left them with responses, but sometimes unfortunately the responses became a bit sarky and a bit a bit biting, a bit passive aggressive, because obviously the frustration had gotten to them. But what a lot of these guys might not have known is as soon as you respond to a feedback, eBay then have no power and no ability to remove that feedback because you've responded to it, which means you've accepted the feedback in a way and you're just putting your response out there. So I didn't respond to the feedback. I contacted eBay and just calmly explained what had happened. Thankfully, the customer service agent saw this, and I obviously pointed out that they'd seemed to they'd seemed to have left an awful lot of negative feedback for buyers, and if you looked at their most recent page of feedback left for others, that there were 16 negative feedbacks left, and the agent saw this, and they could have potentially told me that it was a buyer experience issue, because again, very smartly, almost as if this person was playing the system, the message they'd left on the feedback, although it was kind of mean, it wasn't. It was very their experience. It could be argued that it was their experience because they were upset at not receiving the item and they were blaming me for it. But the customer service agent saw the whole thing, I guess. They saw all the feedbacks left, etc., and they immediately removed this negative feedback. So obviously the case closed in my favour. The feedback has been removed, and no one else is going to see it. I didn't respond to it. I wish I'd taken a screenshot of it or something, but it's all gone now. And hopefully they're going to be looking into this person and seeing if there's like a pattern to this behaviour, which there does seem to be, unless they are just extremely unfortunate and every seller that they've recently interacted with has provided them with an awful service in some way or another. I wanted to make this because oftentimes, like I said, we all share our experiences when we don't feel supported, but in this case I really did feel supported as a seller, as a customer of eBay. It was a great experience, it was quick, it was efficient, I felt listened to, and yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. Hopefully you guys have had similar experiences. Well, I don't hope you've had bad experiences with customers. What I mean is I hope you've had good experiences that are similar like this in terms of eBay backing you up and supporting you. I'm sure there's plenty of experiences that you guys have had which are not that, such as myself. I've had plenty of experiences where I feel I've not been fairly treated, but I thought I would share this because this is one of the ones where it has been good. So hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a bit of like a little story, but I just wanted to share it with you because I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.